Thank you for downloading this week's edition of the Saturday Drop-In here on Highland Hospital Radio. This week's show sees a slight change because Shannon is away, but that you don't need to worry about anything. It's all good because we've got the wonderful Helen MacPherson who's joining me. We'll have your usual features of Guess the Year, Beat Detective and This or That, and we've got special guests from Inverness Musical Theatre Company who are telling us about their forthcoming production of Singin in the Rain. I hope you enjoy the show.
Across the wards,
across the Highlands,
across the world.
This is Highland Hospital Radio.
It's Foles and my number here on your Saturday drop-in. Welcome along. As I say, no Shannon today because she's skiving. We'll tell you what she's up to because she was posting some old photographs. It's her and Ben's anniversary today.
Nice, nice.
Yeah. So she's away doing that. But that means I've got a legend of a legend of radio broadcasting in the north of Scotland. Helen MacPherson's in the studio with us. Hi Helen, how are you?
Oh, I'm great, Tom. Great, and nice to have you to have me here.
Well,
Yeah.
do you know, I was thinking this. We've done outside broadcasts together.
Yes,
I
that's
don't
right.
know if we've actually done a show together before.
No, this is the first.
It's the sort of nature of us in hospital radio is that because you do, well, you're usually in. You come in on a Saturday to do your show later on, and we don't really see each other.
Yeah.
And there's some members who never meet each other because they're always on different nights of the week. So it's nice when we can have the drop-in and people, well, literally drop in and say hello.
And say hello.
What we were up to this week, we were going to start with this because we were working together on Monday.
That's right.
We were here in the studio.
I'm doing overtime this week.
I know you. Yeah. Well, believe, how many hours have you and I done for hospital radio this week?
I know.
Because we had some people in the studio. It was a group of third years from Millburn Academy. Now, they referred to this as a charity speed dating event.
Yeah.
So tell us, you attended this. This was all part of this and I knew I was going to fall at the first double. Youth and Philanthropy Initiative.
Yeah.
You went along to Millburn.
Yes, I did, and it was speed dating. It was called, and I was a bit nervous about that. I thought, what's this all about? You know. But anyway, it was lovely. The first year, I think it was, that came in first, and we were just sat around. A lot of other good charities were there as well, and they had to ask us questions, but we only got 3 minutes, and then the big ding dong went, and we had to sort of leave it. But I did stand up every time and say the £3,000 would be a massive help to us. So then, taking it further, they had to come in to us and ask us questions to see if they're going to really put us forward as the charity that they represent, that they represent.
Because it's a Scotland-wide thing.
Yes,
Schools
it
across
is.
Scotland do it. There's a larger pot that's given out to all the schools. Each school gets a £3,000 grant to award, and the school children have to decide who's getting it. And it's based on, they have some set questions. So they came up and spoke to us. You and Aaron went along to Millburn.
Yeah.
And they had to fire these questions at you, and you had to quickly come up with answers from to try and convince them that.
Yeah. And
Highland
I had
Hospital
it all written down, which wasn't necessary because, I would have been talking for half an hour and they only had 3 minutes for one group, and they came in groups of about 6. And it was excellent. I loved it. And the teacher had said to me that it's good for the young ones to actually communicate with older people and just learn about things that are going on in the communities.
Yeah, learn
definitely.
about what charities there are and what they do. And then we got, quite surprisingly, we wouldn't have expected it. We thought it's nice to go along and attend these things.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And then we got a call to say that actually a group of kids had chosen us.
I know.
And we got this wonderful email from one of the third years. He messaged us and said, can we come and visit? Because we need to find out more.
Rory, yeah.
So we were in on Monday afternoon,
yeah.
And we thought they'll be trying to get away as quickly as this is a sky for school, isn't it? But they were here for over an hour.
I know, and they enjoyed it, I think.
I think they really did.
Yeah.
You could tell also they're a bit nervous and shy. They're out of their comfort zone. They've been brought in here into a radio studio. We gave them a wee tour of the place.
Yeah.
I took them over. We've still got the vinyl wall here at the studios at Highland Hospital Radio.
It's great.
And one of the kids did say to me, "Oh, are these CDs?" I went, well, we'll get to them. We've got a wall of them as well. And it was interesting. You're sort of. You get brought down to earth when you're speaking to younger people, and they say, "Oh, I think my granddad liked that." But we were, showing them some vinyls. We showed them some CDs, but then we brought them through to show them the computer system because I know you still get a few CDs sent to you.
Sometimes, yes. Not a lot now, but I do get a few.
Yeah.
But I always use CDs. That's how I have to go in and record my show,
That's
Tom.
right.
That's right. Because there's only one CD player in the studio.
Helen is very much analog, and that's fine. That's fine.
Because I could use the system, but there's not a big enough choice, and I like to play something different every week.
I would argue that there's plenty, more than enough country music on this. 944 country music songs on the system. I think that's enough.
No. Over 1,000 LPs and over 3,000 CDs at home. So, I've just got so much choice.
That's what makes your show really good, because it's such a good mix.
And I like to play people that other folk maybe listening in don't know, and then they'll say to you, well, you introduced me to this artist or whatever, and I love that. That's what it's all about.
What was interesting was the kids were asking us questions, so not just about the charity, but they actually started speaking about things that we'd done. And obviously you've got an amazing career, and their eyes really lit up when you listed some of the names of the people that you've interacted with from a professional perspective.
Yeah, and that was nice.
You mentioned a certain Taylor Swift at one stage, and
yes.
every single one of them sort of got, oh really? Because you were at a press event with Taylor Swift.
Yes.
We'll talk about that later on.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah.
And even when I opened the studio too, and we opened the record player, they hadn't seen a record player, and I was showing them, you showed them what an LP was like, and I said when Tom was showing you the LP, then I opened the record player and the record goes on like that, and they were just so surprised. And they liked it. They definitely liked it, yeah.
I think what's more surprising is we do have a presenter, Roscoe, who does use both decks. So to give people, if you've never seen any of the videos that we put online in the studios, we've got two studios here at the studios. We're in Studio 1 just now, which is the modern digital studio. So there is one CD player as an emergency, but there's no vinyl, there's no cassettes or anything. No. We've got this lovely shiny electronic desk which is blinking away at me with the computer system. Next door we've got the old school desk, which is where the cassette player's still up there, I think. We've got CDs, two CD players, we've got two vinyls, and we've got the computer system. So it's the older school desk. And we've still got somebody who goes in there and does a full hour-long show just playing 45s. I know you like your CDs, that's your setup as well. Yep. So I like to think we cater for everybody. So it's good for the kids to see that we've got both sides of it here. Yeah,
but I take the LPs in sometimes and record the songs, because I don't have everything on CD, because I've been in the business that long. You see that the CDs weren't out. The CDs weren't out when I started.
Well, yeah, so that's what we were getting up to. It was great to have Millburn Academy coming along. They were, like I say, at first a wee bit nervous, but at the end, we were just talking about this before we came on. At the very end, they all came round to this side, the presenter side, and I was showing them how the system worked, how the sort of the technical aspect of how we keep the station playing out, and they were really taken in by that.
That was interesting for them. That was definitely interesting.
So here's hoping, and I said to them at the end, whether we get picked or not, it's been lovely to be even thought of, and the fact that we had them coming in, and hopefully they'll come back and see us again. But yeah, that was our week in hospital radio.
Working overtime.
Working overtime, yeah. But I'm still waiting on the treasurer to pay out some salary, but I don't think we'll ever see that.
We do it because we love to do it. That's the reason.
We
Tom.
do. Yeah. We're daft, but we do it. Yeah. But tell you what, we'll play another song. Then after a wee break, we're going to play our Guess the Year competition, which is where we're going to play a couple of songs, give you some trivia facts to guess the year. And once we've done that, we will be joined in the studio with the team from Inverness Musical Theatre, because they have got their show coming up. I don't want to scare them, but it's a week on Wednesday where the run starts. We'll see. They'll be telling us what the show is, what the theatre group's all about the history, and we'll find out more about it, because you never know, you might want to get involved in that as well. So what we'll do is we'll have a bit of the noisettes, or the noisettes if you prefer. This one's called That Girl. We'll be back with Guess the Year in just a moment. It's Boney M and Rivers of Babylon, which was the best-selling single of this year. But the question is, what was the year? Yeah, taken from a text of a biblical psalm. The song was originally released by the Melodians, but that released by Boney M is your best-selling single of the year, spending 5 weeks at number one over May and June. It was a double A side. The other side was Brown Girl in the Ring. So therefore, if that helps you narrow it down, then go for it. In the news in this year, Anna Ford becomes the first woman to read the news on ITN. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is first broadcast on Radio 4. We've just been talking about radio plays in the studio, in fact. And closer to home, Inverness Country and Western Club is voted best of its kind in the UK only 4 years after its creation. Helen MacPherson, I believe you had some hand in that.
I did. You want to talk to me about
You
it
go
right
for it.
now?
Go for it, yeah.
I saw an advert in the Inverness Courier, and it said if anybody was interested in country music, could they come along to the meeting at the Douglas Hotel, I think it was at that time. And I thought, oh yeah, because about 2 years before that, I had just got into country music by listening to a Charlie Pride song. So I thought, I'd be interested in that. I'll go along and start. See what they've got to say. And of course there was lots of folk came. It totally surprised me. And they were all keen, and then we just decided there and then to vote a committee on. And I ended up getting the president of the club.
You were the president, of course.
I was the president.
Now, we're careful not to say the year that this happened.
Well, it was in the 70s for sure.
Oh, no clues, no clues.
But anyway, the club went on to be just such a great success, and I couldn't believe it when we got voted. Somebody came incognito to the club and went round asking questions and things like that, and I was, I thought, who's that new guy, and I kept going, are you all right, are you just on holiday, are you, and trying to sort of find out a little bit about him, But anyway, the next thing we knew that we were picked in the UK. That is something.
That's incredible.
So special.
Because in this era,
yeah.
country and western was massive, wasn't it? There must have been loads of country and western clubs
Well,
up and down the
on
country.
a Tuesday night, we would have about 200 at least in. I mean, that was amazing to have that amount of people in a club in Inverness every Tuesday night.
Incredible.
And they just loved it. Right.
So there you go. If you can think that that's what the year was, you can have an answer. In TV, Helen, what was happening in TV?
Well, Dallas' favourite programme. Dallas debuts on American TV channel CBS. The episode where viewers found out just who did shoot JR is still the second most watched television broadcast in US history. UK TV debuts this year included 321, Blake 7, Grange Hill, The South Bank Show, and in Scotland we say Beech Grove Garden for the first time, and Scotch and Rye.
Brilliant shows.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Scotch and
yeah.
Rye. I was brought up on that on Hogmanay.
Yep, love it.
Born in this year, Ricky Wilson, singer in the band Kaiser Chiefs. This is a topical one. Retired footballer and current Rangers head coach Barry Ferguson is born in this year. Also, singer, songwriter, musician and member of Muse, Matt Bellamy. And also in this year, Louise Brown, the first baby born as a result of IVF treatment, is born in this year. What was happening in sport? Helen MacPherson.
Caledonian win the Highland League, pipping Peterborough by 2 points. It was a good year for Rangers, who would win the Scottish Premier League, Cup and Scottish Cup. The Open Golf is held at St Andrews and is won by Jack Nicklaus. In rugby this year saw the 49th edition of the Five Nations Championship seeing Wales win the title, and it was a Football World Cup year and the host country won the tournament.
So that's a huge clue. Whenever if you say there's a World Cup year, that narrows it down usually. Although last year's quiz, it was an Olympic year and people still got the year wrong. At the movies in this year, we're going to the American box office this time. And the highest grossing movies of the year. In fifth place, Heaven Can Wait, starring Warren Beatty, grossed $81.6 million. At number 4, Every Which Way But Loose. That was the one with the orangutan, wasn't it? Clint Eastwood was... not Clint Eastwood, there was a separate element there. $85.1 million. Number 3, National Lampoon's Animal House, grossed $120 million. Number 2 was Superman, grossing $134.2 million. And the number 1 highest grossing movie in the US box office charts was Grease, grossing $159.9 million.
Whoa.
And we're going to play you the song from the movie with Frankie Valli. It's Grease on Highland Hospital Radio. But what was the year? It is Frankie Valli and Grease. But we had a particular year in mind. So congratulations to you if you said 1978. Helen was right. Helen.
It was Trevor that was right.
No, because when I thought I'll put in so having read Helen's book, which is available at helenmacpherson.com, I think we'll mention the book later on another couple of times, I'm sure. I got that from a news clipping that's in the book, so that's why we picked the year 1978. And when I read the clue to Helen earlier, she went, "Oh, I should probably know that, shouldn't I?"
But I did get it, didn't I?
You did get it eventually. You did get it eventually. Now, joining us here in the studio, I'm delighted to say that we have 3 guests with us. and this song is relevant to them. We're joined by Trevor, Amy and Kenny from Inverness Musical Theatre. The organisation has performed in various locations around Inverness, from the Old Central Picture House on Academy Street, which would be later known as the Empire Theatre, then moving to the Playhouse Cinema, even a stint using Inverness Royal Academy before moving into their current home at Eden Court in 1976, 2 years before I ever guessed there. I wish I should have tied that up, that would have been good. Formerly known as the Inverness Opera Company, 2025 sees the group celebrating the 100th anniversary. Next Wednesday, and I don't know if the nerves are kicking in yet, we'll see their latest production take to the stage. Welcome to the show, folks. So Trevor, Amy and Kenny, first of all, why don't you tell us what is this year's production from the Inverness Musical Theatre Company?
Well, Tom, the show this year is Singin' in the Rain.
It's almost like I've given a clue there to the people there. Eh?
Yeah.
I'll fade them down because you guys are going to do it far better, I'm sure.
Well, we hope so.
Now, this is taking place at Eden Court. Obviously, that's a main central hub here in the Highlands for the arts, for the theatre. What's it like performing at that place, that sort of central hub, that massive theatre? It's 855 people, I think it holds. How does that feel doing that?
Oh, well, you just made us really nervous by mentioning the capacity there, Tom. It's it can be quite daunting for when you first appear on stage there. I first appeared on stage in Eden Court in 1976, which is the year that it opened up.
Mm-hmm.
I was part of Inverness High School's production of Carmen that year, and I think we were the first amateur group to appear on stage in Eden Court that year, and it was. I mean, we were all just young kids, so it wasn't really anything to us. We just went out on stage and did it. But a few years later, when I was performing with Inverness Opera Company, and you're an adult, then that's when the nerves start to really take hold, and it starts to get really intimidating.
But it's fun at the end of the day, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I think I first performed probably when I was about 10 or 11, so
wow.
Coming up to probably about 15 years since I first performed on the stage. But now you just you can only see the front two rows, really.
I suppose the lights are all set up that way, yeah.
Especially if your eyesight's as bad as mine.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Ken? How long have you been involved?
Well, with IMT, this is only my second production.
Wow.
My first production was in 2018, and it was The Wizard of Oz.
Mine too.
But the first time I was on the Eden Court stage was in 2013 with Philanthropy Musical Theatre, and it was West Side Story. And I was lucky enough to play the part of Gino, who...
It's a big role.
It's quite a big role. So needless to say, nobody looked at me after the show. But no, that was the first time I was on the Eden Court stage, and like Trevor said, it can be a bit daunting, but after a while you do kind of get used to it, but the nerves are still there. Yeah,
I think it would be weird if you didn't have nerves. You've got to have a little bit, because I think that makes you just respect it. Because you have to, there's. I hate to tell you this, it's very busy, because I looked at the ticket sales this morning, and on the Saturday shows, there's only very few tickets left. So if you're listening, folks, and you've not got your tickets yet, you need to hurry up, because even the Thursday, the Friday performances are really well sold. There's only wee sporadic seats here and there. Wednesdays when it starts on the 26th. So it's good. There's a lot of people coming to see this, and there's a bit of a responsibility. There must be. You're representing a company that's 100 years old.
Yeah, that's right, Tom. And we've got about 56, I think, people on stage. So you've got all those people and their sort of friends circle coming along. Plus, obviously, you've got being 100 years old as we are. We've gathered a fair following over the years.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of. People who are faithful attenders who come along every year to see our shows.
So what about the roles that you, the three of you have? Are you all performing on the stage? Are you all singer, dancers?
Yes.
So
Yeah,
what
pretty
roles are you playing? Kenny, who are you this year in Singing in the Rain?
Well, I'm part of the ensemble, but I'm also playing the part of Sid Phillips, who's a director, and
right.
he's kind of there when RF discovers Kathy, and that's the part. I'm also a tap dancer as well.
Oh wow. Is that a professional tap dancer, or is this just something you're picking up for
would
this?
say,
So just to be clear, are you a tap dancer in real life, or are you a tap dancer on the stage?
Well, I did a little bit of tap dancing when I did some teacher training with Highlands Youth Theatre many years ago. They were doing some tap training, so I thought I'll give it a go, and thankfully it's come back, so I'm able to
Awesome.
know some of the steps. So yeah, that's my part.
What about yourself, Amy?
So I'm mostly in the ensemble. So
Cool.
yeah, one of the dancers, do a lot of tap dancing. But I do get a nice wee cameo role at the very beginning, playing Mary Margaret, who is this lovely young star who kind of saunters on with a sugar daddy, an older gentleman. So that's quite nice to have just been given a role to sort of perform a wee bit. But yeah, my favourite part is all the dancing that we get to do, just in the ensemble with a big group of people.
Oh, that must be great, yeah, because it's such a collaboration as well. So when you're doing, must be quite interesting. I've never done it, but if you're doing a dance on a stage and you're synchronised with other people around you, the feeling you must get when that all pays off, that must be a great buzz.
Yeah, as soon as something sounds, especially with tap shoes, because you can really hear it. So as soon as something sounds clean in rehearsal, everybody sort of goes, yeah, that felt really good, that was nice. So hopefully by show week we're pretty clean and we've got all our dances
I'm sure you will be.
perfected.
And what about yourself, Trevor?
Well, I'm playing R.F. Simpson. I'm the head of the studio, Millennium Pictures. And it's not Monumental Pictures.
MGM, Millennium.
I need to be careful. I said that at one night at rehearsal. Monumental Pictures is the name of the studio, and I'm the one who kind of discovers Kathy Selden, who is the sort of main female lead in the show, who in the film was played by Debbie Reynolds.
Yep. And for a show there's a prestige that comes with Singing in the Rain. It's probably most people have heard of it, or they've seen the film, or seen a stage show. Does that put a bit more pressure on you? Do you feel it differently when it's such a well-known show, or when you compare it to all the other shows you've done in the past, which are well-known as well? Is it the same? Is there any difference at all?
Yeah, I mean, you obviously there's a bit of a responsibility because it's quite a well-loved film, I think, by a lot of people. It's remembered by maybe some of the more mature listeners, very fondly, I'm sure, remember the film. It's one of these sort of films that when I was a kid would come on TV on a Sunday afternoon, and my mother would sit and watch it because she was a big musicals fan, and you'd sit and watch it and kind of half-heartedly watch it, but then you'd kind of get drawn into the story, because it's a great story. A lot of musicals, you find when you actually go and watch them, the storyline can be quite flimsy. But it's got a really good, strong storyline, and there's a lot of humour in it as well, which is good.
It's funny you say that. I was actually listening to another podcast. I can't believe there's other ones out there compared to us. But the sort of more modern musicals where people have taken the back catalogue of an artist, maybe your Mamma Mia, your ABBA, but maybe not so much that. But there's lots of them where they've taken the back catalogue of an artist and they've formed a story around it to try and fit all these songs. I don't want to, throw shade on anybody, but Sunshine on Leith, I think, is a wee bit like that. Right, we've got this back catalogue of songs by the Proclaimers. Right, we better try and fit it around. Look, it's a bit sunny today on Leith Walk, isn't it? Well, there's a song that we can play for that. And, what's the wife going to be called? Well, she's going to be called Jean, isn't she? Because we need to fit that in. But the older classics, they weren't written that way. The story was probably what was the priority back then, maybe.
Yeah, that's right. And this was never a stage musical to begin with. It started off life as a movie musical, and it only became a stage musical after that. Because I suppose the logistics of having, the elephant in the room,
some effects, perhaps.
Yes, some special effects that might occur. I suppose that was always seen as a bit of a major technical issue to get to overcome. So it was only sort of, I think, 1980s, before they actually did a stage musical of it. And I think my wife, who's directing the show this year, she went down and she saw Tommy Steele on stage in the first production in the West End.
Because they did do the effect on the stage, as I recall. In fact, there's a really interesting, I think it was maybe on Blue Peter or something, if you see the BBC archive clips where they're promoting that show and he's talking about how they did that. But I could go off on a tangent many, many times. What we'll do is we'll take a wee song just now, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the fact that the organisation has just celebrated its centenary in this year. And we'll find out what you've been doing about that, and also a bit more about if people are listening into this thinking, I've always maybe wanted to get involved or try out with these things, how people can get involved, and also the different jobs they can do, not just being on stage. Now, we are going to play some Gene Kelly, but rather than play Singing in the Rain, I've got something from American Paris. I Got Rhythm for you. Taken from an American Paris, it's Gene Kelly and I Got Rhythm. You're listening to Highland Hospital Radio. It's a Saturday drop-in. Helen's here with me.
Yes, I am. Yeah,
And
good. Enjoying it.
she's over on the other side of the desk because the other side, the guest side, is full with our three members of Inverness Musical Theatre. They've been telling us all about the production of Singin in the Rain. No G. We've been very strictly told no G.
Okay.
And how it starts a week on Wednesday. It's the 26th of March, and you can go along to, if you want to just do a Google search for Inverness Musical Theatre, you'll find their website, which is great for finding out about the history. There's also going to be a link to the show and a link to tickets, or just go to the Eden Court website here in Inverness and you can get your tickets. But I would definitely hurry up because, as I say, I had a look this morning, and you know, it's the stalls, that's the main sitting bit, isn't it? There was nothing left for Saturday, the matinee or the evening or the Friday. You just had some of the boxes around at the back, so you definitely need to hurry up.
And have you got my ticket yet? No.
I tried an internet problem. Sorry, Helen. Sorry. Listen, I'm trying to be a professional here. So it was the 100th anniversary of Inverness Musical Theatre. Obviously, none of you were around at that time. But how does it feel to be part of an organisation that's got that much lineage, that much heritage? What about Trevor?
Well, I mean, I can go back 40 years with the company, Tom. I joined in 1985, and my first production with the company was Die Fledermaus. That was back in the days when we used to do operettas and things like Gilbert and Sullivan, The Mikado, stuff like that. We tend to do more modern musicals now, but and that was one of the reasons why that round about 2015, I think it was, when I was chairman, we changed the name of the company from Inverness Opera Company to Inverness Musical Theatre. So I'm actually the last chairman of Inverness Opera Company and the first chairman of Inverness Musical Theatre. So there's a bit of trivia for you there.
Well, we could meet up for a drink because I was the last chair of Inverness Hospital Radio and the first of Highland Hospital Radio, so I can relate to you on how it is to try and change the name of an organisation that's been going around for quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, it was a well-known name across the Highlands, and a lot of the older members weren't too happy about the fact that the company name was going to be changed because they obviously lived through it and grew up with it, sort of thing. So there was there was some opposition, but right from the start when I joined, there was talk of us changing our name because people used to get the wrong impression of the sort of things that we did. We never ever did opera. We did light opera and operetta, but we always felt that it can maybe put some people off coming to see us or coming to join us. You know.
Yeah, no, I totally relate to that. Yeah. A name can mean so much. It can kind of pigeonhole you. It can kind of set you in a place, and particularly musical theatre. If that's what you're doing, and that is what is, it's such a massive industry, and so many people love it. It's always so well attended whenever shows are touring and they come up to Eden Court. Or lots of people go down, no doubt, every weekend to Glasgow and Edinburgh to see shows. So yeah, absolutely. And what an achievement that is. And obviously, if you've been a previous committee member and stuff, you're part of the history of it as well. So you must take great pride that it's still here today and it's still performing and still drawing in audiences.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been chairman twice. So I was a chairman back in the 90s as well, and that was when we were that's when the kind of transition kind of came in, where we stopped doing operettas. I think the last one we did was maybe Merry Widow or The Mikado or something like that, and then it was sort of towards that period that we started to do more modern. I mean, we used to do modern musicals as well, but the trend sort of started then when we started to move into more modern stuff. So
within Inverness Musical Theatre, you're all volunteers. You're all giving up your time to be members and to take part. So Kenny, what is it that drew you into taking part in the musical theatre and joining the organisation?
Well, I've been basically a fan of musical theatre for pretty much most of my life. When I was younger, my auntie, my mum's sister, mum if you're listening, hi. They had an organisation in Stirling called the Stirling and Bridge of Allen Operatic Society, which is still going today. And my auntie would be on the stage to begin with, but then she would go into stage management. And they would do like shows like Oklahoma, Fiddler on the Roof, Half a Sixpence, Kiss Me Kate, Annie, the list goes on. And she was able to get us tickets to go and see these yearly musicals. And I think I must have just been bitten by the bug then, or maybe someone said, is that something that you would like to do? And I've always just loved musical theatre ever since. But it wasn't until when I was part of West Side Story that I experienced my very first musical, and I've just done it ever since then. But to be part of this one, Singing in the Rain, on their 100th anniversary, is just an absolute honour.
That's I say, yeah.
Excellent, yeah. So what did you say, how old were you when you started taking an interest?
Quite young. I was
young.
probably maybe, I don't know, well, I did my very first performance when I was 4. I played a frog. But that was for a school show.
And got rave reviews. The P&J loved it.
I won't tell you what I had to do, but yeah, ever since I was a kid, I've just loved shows. I couldn't tell you the exact age. Probably maybe, I don't know, 6 or something like that. Just a rough guess, but yeah, ever since then, and I've just loved it ever since.
Brilliant. And are you able to encourage young people to come in now to your organisation?
Certainly hope so. You know, we're always looking for new people, you know, to keep things going. So yeah, if there's anyone out there who's even thinking about doing musical theatre, even if it's just helping out backstage with props, you know, come along, see what we're about, and you know, we'll be happy to meet you.
Great.
What about yourself, Amy? What got you in? Yeah.
Well, yeah. So I feel like a lot of, like many young people in Inverness and the Highlands, started off in one of the many theatre groups when I was probably, I think you'd call it a dinky. Is that 2 or something? And then 4, you know, being on stage. As a wee kid that, you know, I can barely remember now. I think I probably took a wee break, and then my grandparents actually moved back from Cyprus in 2011, and I think it sort of skipped a generation in terms of musical theatre loving, because they were big into musical theatre and just drama in general out there. They came back and joined Inverness Opera Company, the both of them, and just did a lot of roles and different principals or ensembles. So my first show from the opera company that I saw, I believe, was Jekyll and Hyde, and just hearing, you know, being around your family talking about it, and I was maybe a bit too young to join specifically the Inverness Opera Company at the time, but I was always listening to CDs of mixed musical theatre songs, just dreaming about, like, oh, if I join IMT, I'm gonna sing this one in front of everybody. I think I would just love performing, and so when I was a little bit older and actually started, you know, doing a play at school, it was actually Starlight with Grease. You've just played Grease as well.
Yeah.
Was my I was really into that movie. I think I watched it every day in like 2015. It was quite crazy. So when I did that musical, and I thought, okay, I really love that. And then the next one was The Wizard of Oz. And so I went and I auditioned for that. I got cast as a tree, which is, now that I think about it, was quite a good...
Again, the courier loved it.
Was really quite a good role to be casted when you're about 16.
And it wasn't a wooden performance, was it?
No.
Oh, there he is.
The amount of
I avoided
tree punch is probably
the
best
ribbit
thing.
joke earlier. That it was ribbiting, but
Like-
tree jokes are...
It was really good. So then I moved away for a while and just sort of went to university, did mostly straight plays, and so this is only my second IMT show, and coming back, I think just the knowledge that it's such a stable company, that it's been around for 100 years. You just know that almost every year there's just going to be another show. You miss this one, go and see the next one, and you just know that it's going to be around. I think it's maybe when you think about kind of acting and theatre, you think of quite an unstable situation when you're always auditioning for things, but to have something that's going to happen yearly, that, you know, the same people, like I came back after 6 or 7 years and everybody just already recognised me after only, you know, meeting them for a couple of times. Like, everyone's already your friend, and you can be in one show, skip a few years, come back, and it's just like being back with a big kind of musical theatre family.
Do they get encouragement in schools to go do the same as what you were doing when you were younger?
Well, definitely, because, well, in this show we actually auditioned a few wee kids to play the younger versions of our main characters.
All right.
Yeah.
So even if they're not in the main cast, there's always kind of little roles for us younger kids to get in, and that's us reaching out to kids in general, but all the different performing companies and things. The kids are so talented, so you want them to be in your show.
Yeah.
I suppose that leads us to then about joining the organisation. How can people do it? But it's also about the jobs, because like in radio, we see it here at Highland Hospital Radio. It's easy enough to say people that are coming and talking at a microphone, because that's what radio is. And in terms of theatre, if I come to the theatre, I see the people on the stage.
Yeah.
But of course, there must be a whole host of other jobs that need to be filled, the tasks that need done. Trevor, can you give us an idea of if somebody was wanting to get involved? They love musicals, they've got the same passion that you all have, but maybe they don't have the confidence, or it's just not within their desire to be on the stage. How can they contribute to the organisation?
Well, there's various ways, Tom. The backstage, excuse me. Obviously, we've got roles in costume, for example. We're always looking for people who can sew, for example, and adapt costumes, and people who are maybe good at telling different periods of costume, because that can be quite tricky as well. Have a bit of a knowledge of that. That if you can get a hold of somebody who has that sort of knowledge, that's really, really useful. Particularly with a show like Singin' in the Rain, where it's set in the 1920s, you know. So there's costume, and there's props as well, because props can be quite an important part of a show. People who can create props are always useful, or people who are good at sourcing props, you know, maybe have good contacts in really weird areas, like I don't know, once we did I think years ago we did Brigadoon, so we were looking for a spinning wheel, you know, an old spinning wheel, so somebody managed to find an old spinning wheel. So we did another show, Fiddler on the Roof. We're looking for an old sewing machine, an old Singer sewing machine.
I've got one in my loft as
Well,
well.
There you go. You kind of
well, there you go. So we're always looking for people who are good at that side of things, and also people to help out on stage as well. You know, like moving props and set around. You know, because we've got a great stage manager, George Reynolds, who's been with us forever. You know, not quite 100 years.
Not quite.
I mean, he was around when I joined the company 40 years ago. So he's always looking for people in his team to help out on stage, you know.
And you've already told us it's quite a friendly welcome bunch, you said, Amy, but there's actually quite a lot of other friendships and relationships that have come from the musical theatre scene. We've got at least a couple of weddings to discuss potentially that have come about as a result of Inverness Musical Theatre. So it's also quite a friendly group. You all get on really well, and it's like-minded people coming together and enjoying, you know, a sort of shared passion for something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's like it becomes like a family.
Yeah, yeah.
In fact, better than a family sometimes, because you know how families can sometimes fall out. Not that we never fall out, but because we do sometimes.
Yeah,
but,
of course you do. Yeah,
but,
that's what families do.
Yeah, I mean, you meet people in the theatrical world, you know, in any company that you're involved in, and they become really close friends, because being on stage with somebody, it's a stressful situation, as you can imagine, and that sort of stress and the camaraderie that comes with it, you know, because once you've done a show, you feel you've achieved something, and that sort of engenders a sort of a spirit within the company, which you know, encourages people to come back year after year and do other shows, you know.
And that friendship extends just beyond Inverness and the Highlands, doesn't it? Because it turns out that you're not the only musical theatre company enjoying a centenary anniversary. Ken, you were telling about this off air. Who else is enjoying 100 years of musical theatre?
Yeah, I don't know how this was discovered, but there's an amateur production, Norfolk and Norwich, they also celebrated their 100th anniversary. They were born on, I think it was the same day that IMT were born, and it's quite spooky, but they were also performing Singin' in the Rain. So what we did, like I said, I don't know who found out or anything, but we sent videos to each other just singing happy birthday and everything, and it was great. So straight away you almost felt like a connection, you know, between the two. And I think someone actually said, can we borrow their costumes? Because they actually had really good costumes down there. So yeah, that was quite something.
That's cracking. Well, what we'll do is we'll take a wee break. We'll go for another song. When we come back, I wonder if you might want to join in a wee game, because on the Saturday drop-in we play a game called This or That, where we've got some sort of topic and we've got a choice of two answers. So I wonder if you might be interested after this break that we'll talk a wee bit more about the Inverness Musical Theatre, and we'll play a game of, is it West End or Broadway?
Oh, I would love that.
Oh.
Well, stay tuned, because that's coming up after we enjoy some Petula Clark and Colour My World. And we're back here on Highland Hospital Radio on your Saturday drop-in. It's Tom Nelson with you, Helen MacPherson as well, and we're joined with the group, the members of the Inverness Musical Theatre, with their show about to begin a week on Wednesday, Singin' in the Rain. Now, they have told us all how passionate they are and how much they love musical theatre. So I've devised a wee quiz because every week when it's Shannon and I who are here, we play a game of this or that. So, for example, previous ones we've had is it a cheese or a motorway services? We have played we've played a game of now Shannon's from Englandshire, and we played a game of is it a Scottish town or an English town because Scotland were playing England at the rugby. So this is the sort of idea. So what we've done is I've got 10 musicals in front of me. And what I'd like to know is, did the musical debut at the West End or Broadway? Now, it's worth saying, sometimes it'll have maybe done it in a lower city, then moved there. So the question is, was it West End first or Broadway first? So Amy is.
Well, it does depend what era, I guess.
Well, so it's there. It's the first performance of it. So did it hit Broadway first or did it hit the West End first? Now, I will say this now. There will be some controversy. And we'll see how you feel about the controversy when we get to it. So shall we give this a wee go and you can play amongst each other and see what you think? Is that all right?
Go for it.
Magic.
Yeah.
So nice easy one to start with. The musical is Phantom of the Opera. Is that West End first or Broadway? West End or Broadway? What do we
Definitely
think?
a West End.
I believe
I'll
it's
say
the
West
longest
End.
running West End show.
But was it there first?
I think it started in the West End. Well, it's Lloyd Webber, so.
Exactly. Lloyd Webber, that's probably a good shout. It's going to be the West End, and it was. It opened in October 1986 at Her Majesty's Theatre. It transferred to Broadway 2 years later. So yes, West End was correct. Our next one is Cabaret. Cabaret, was that Broadway first or
Broadway.
the West End first?
Broadway first.
Trevor's going Broadway.
Candor and Ebb, so yeah, I would say it was.
Is Amy and Kenny?
I'm going to agree with Trevor just because I think
Yeah, I'll
he
go
knows
Broadway
more than
too.
I do.
Okay, you're all going Broadway. Believe in Trevor here. You're right, he's quite correct. November 1966 at the Broadhurst Theatre before transferring to the Imperial and then the Broadway Theatre. Its West End debut was in 1968, so 2 years later. There's a bit of a trend here. It always tends to be 2 years later it transfers one way or the other. Next up, we've got a relatively modern one, Back to the Future. It was Back to the Future. Did it hit Broadway first or the West End first?
I think I'm going to guess Broadway.
Yeah,
Let's
I
go
would.
on
I would be
Broadway.
I've
inclined
seen
to.
a lot of social media info from the
really
actors
wanna see
there,
that
and
one so
I
bad.
think it's. Might
It
be
looks really
Broadway.
good, yeah. I mean, the music's good, obviously, and
Yeah.
I've seen some of the sets and stuff, yeah.
This might be a trick question, though, Amy.
I know.
Oh, goodness. Do you think we would do trick questions here to our
Well,
guests, our
I don't
lovely
know.
guests? Would we do that? So what do we think? Is Amy taking lead on this one? Is it Broadway or
Yeah,
is
I
it West
think
End?
we'll go with Broadway. Yeah.
Yeah, Broadway.
It first opened in Manchester in February 2020 before hitting the West End in 2021. It moved to Broadway's Winter Garden Theatre in 2023. So I'm afraid I
it is
got you
very
there.
close.
Yeah,
I got
see,
you
I
there.
see.
Can we go
You
back
knew
in
it was
time?
coming.
50-50.
Can we go
You
back
knew it
in
was
time and
coming.
change the question?
I like what he's done there. This guy. Next up, as we play, is it Broadway or West End? We've got Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins, was that first on Broadway or on the West End?
I'm going to say Broadway.
We've got
I'm
Broadway
going
there.
to disagree with you there. I'm
Oh,
gonna
there's a
go
split
West,
I
decision.
think I'll say West
Gonna
End.
go
We've
West
dragged
End.
the team apart here.
I think.
Well, you can play for personal pride here amongst yourselves. Mary Poppins opened at the Prince Edward Theatre in December 2004 on the West End. The Broadway production ran at the New Amsterdam Theatre from November 2006. Like I say, there's always seems to be a 2-year gap between the two. So that was Mary Poppins, and that was number 4. Number 5 is The Book of Mormon. Book of Mormon? Like a
I
bit
think
of
that's got
controversy.
to be Broadway.
Oh, Broadway.
Great show. Seen it a couple
I've not
times.
seen it, and I
Yeah.
really want to. The problem with being up here is you don't.
I
have
hope
the
you don't.
ability.
I hope you don't shock easily, Tom.
No,
It's going to
I think I
Aberdeen
should be
soon.
okay.
Yeah.
If you
Given
can
who
travel
the
there.
writers are, I think I will enjoy it.
Yeah.
So, Book of Mormon. Are we going Broadway first or West End first?
I'll go Broadway as well.
Yeah, Broadway. I think. Yeah.
Is it you? Yeah, is it all unanimous with Broadway? You're correct. It opened in 2011 in the Eugene O'Neill Theatre, transferred to the West End. How many years later?
2
2
years.
years later, yeah, 2013. Next up, now I would be curious if you would ever fancy trying this one, Starlight Express.
Oh, I've
Oh,
seen a lot of that
That's
recently.
that's a definite West End.
Well, it's Andrew Lloyd
Yeah.
Webber.
Yeah, West End.
Amy,
I
are you
don't
going with
think
the
I
team?
could. Yeah, I think I'll go West End. I've seen so much stuff about it recently.
So yeah, it is the West End. Opened in 1984. However, you can trace its roots back to 1974 when Andrew Lloyd Webber approached the Reverend W. Awdry about adapting the Thomas the Tank Engine series into a musical.
I didn't know
Starlight
that.
Express was almost Thomas the Tank Engine the musical. Which,
Maybe if George can make some some ramps up the
Wow.
the seats of Eden Court, we
imagine.
can try it.
Eden Court's quite accessible, I think. You like the outer circle, where the boxes are.
Yeah, we could make it work, Tom. We could make it work.
Do it on scooters or something. I don't know. Just adapt it slightly.
Yeah.
So that was Starlight Express. Next up, we've got Moulin Rouge. So this would have been the stage adaptation of the movie Moulin Rouge.
I don't know. That's one of those
West End.
jukebox musicals you were talking about.
Yeah, it is a bit. Yeah, yep.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe.
West End.
I don't know. I think I'm going to say Broadway.
Oh,
just
they're
to
splitting up
switch it
again.
A bit.
I'm
Which-
causing
which-
tension here amongst
which
the
way?
company.
Which way do I go here? I don't know. I think maybe Broadway. I don't know.
It was Broadway. It was originally performed in Boston before it transferred to the Al Hirschfield Theatre in 2019, later moving to the West End. How many years later?
2 years later.
It was 3 because COVID got in the way. Sorry. I got you again with that one, yeah. So that was, Moulin Rouge, first debuted in Broadway. Next up, it's Lloyd Webber again. It's Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah.
Was that West End first or Broadway first?
Yeah, I think that was definitely West End first. I mean, it was. I mean, I think it was a film as well, around about the same time. But I think it was West End.
It had a lot of British actors in it for the film as well. So maybe
Yeah, I'd
it's
say West End.
this side of the pond.
As we said earlier, if it's Andrew Lloyd Webber, it's probably going to be West End. But this one's Broadway, I'm afraid. It was originally came about in 1970 as a concept album.
Yeah, that's
God,
right.
a 70s concept album, like
In
War of
fact-
the Worlds or something.
In fact, do you know who was on the original concept album?
Go for it.
Ian Gillan from Deep Purple.
Was it?
Yeah.
See, that's excellent knowledge. I love that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you don't get a point for that, and you didn't get it right. So, it first hit the stage the following year in Broadway. It moved to the West End 1 year later. So they got that one turned around quite quickly there. Next up, we've got 2 more. Little Shop of Horrors is your next one. The Little Shop of Horrors. Now, I think of the movie with Rick Moranis, Steve Martin's in it as the dentist. It's an absolutely cracking movie. But we're talking about the stage production here.
Yeah, I know it's currently on Broadway, but I couldn't tell you if that's where it began.
I would tend to go to Broadway. I think.
I'm leaning towards
It
Broadway.
feels American, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, now this is the controversial one. It's the West End is the correct answer, right? You're not going to like this. Although originally launched at the Orpheum Theatre in Lower Manhattan in 1982, that was an off-Broadway
Off-Broadway.
production. Now, I thought you would appreciate the terminology of Broadway, off-Broadway, and off-Broadway.
It's all about seat sizes.
It's the seat sizes, yeah. It was too small a theatre to count, and I'm afraid it hit the West End in 1982. It didn't hit Broadway proper until 2003. Can you believe that? Yeah. So I'm sorry, I kind of got you with that one, sorry. A nice easy one to finish with then. Number 10 is Annie. Was that Broadway first or West End first?
I think that's got to be Broadway.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, it's
so.
got to be Broadway.
All three, they've agreed with each other, and it made its Broadway debut in 1977 at the Neil Simon Theatre, known then as the Alvin Theatre, and it transferred to the West End in 1978. Well, I think he's did pretty well there. There was a slight disagreement at times, but I'm hoping you're okay and you're going to be fine.
Friendly disagreements.
Friendly disagreements are fine. Well, folks, it's been great having you in the studio. Thanks for joining in with us. Once again, tickets are still available, but as I say, the weekend shows, not a lot of tickets left. Get yourself along to the Inverness Musical Theatre website, which is, he says, quickly alt-tabbing to locate it. Unless somebody opposite me wants to jump in with it, of
It's
course.
just invernessmusicaltheatre.co.uk.
Your .org.uk, it turns out. Yeah. Well, that's what I've got here.
Sorry, I didn't read it properly.
invernessmusicaltheatre.org.uk, and you'll see Singin' in the Rain 2025 is up at the top, and the ticket tab is just there as well. Or go straight to Eden Court and look at the what's up next, and you book your tickets through the Eden Court website. Folks, good luck with your production.
Thanks, Tom.
Oh no, I'm not supposed to. No, don't
Break a leg.
There we go. I don't know how superstitious you are, but have a great time. Again, for people that might want to get in touch, the best thing to do is go to the website invernessmusicaltheatre.org.uk, and there's a contact.
We have a really
Yeah.
active Facebook page
We've got a
as
good
well.
Right,
Facebook.
yeah.
So I mean, if
Instagram
people
as
are
well.
if people are interested in joining in the future, they keep an eye on the Facebook page and social media, because when we are going to meet for the first time for the new season, it'll be publicised in that. And if people want to,
It's later on. It's maybe about September time. Is
Yeah.
that right? Round about then.
August,
That's when you first start.
yeah, that's right.
Are you allowed to say what next year's show is yet?
no,
No,
our lips
not
are
yet.
sealed.
I know, but I can't tell you how I know. But I won't say anything on here. Don't worry. Or do I know?
It will
Oh,
be.
Trevor's
It will
looking at
be.
me.
It will be announced the week
Come and see the
of the
show.
show.
If you want to know what it is, come to the show and find out.
Oh, that's a great. Oh,
Yeah.
there you go. That's it, folks. Well, that's,
See what we did there.
you can't. You know what? You can't do better than that. Well, anyway, have a great time. Break a leg, and hopefully will you come back and see us again for next year's show or whatever you're up to next. We'd love to have you back in.
Can I just quickly give a
Yeah.
shout
Oh,
out
yeah.
to,
We're doing shout outs there. I forgot. Apologies. Go for it. Say hello. It's like
can I
I'm
just,
like Ken Bruce. It's all yours.
just a quick shout out to my mum Jo and Sue as well. Also to my wife Kirsty, who I actually met during a drama course. We've been married over 4 years in October. Also to my dad as well. Thank you.
Magic. No problem, kid. Amy and Trevor, the floor's yours. Go for it.
Oh, well, I mean, if anybody is listening, I want to actually say
If
a
anybody
shout
is
out.
listening, goodness.
I wanted, when we were talking about props and stuff, I wanted to shout out Kira, our prop master this year, who's made a lot of our props, which are very impressive. So.
Amazing. What about yourself, Trevor?
Well, I'll have to mention my wife, won't
You
I?
will have to mention her, yes.
My wife Caroline, who is also directing the show this year, so and hopefully she's listening, and my son Philip.
Well, thank you very much again for coming in. We've got a wee request here. You asked for something from Guys and Dolls, because this was a production that you've done in the past, Trevor?
Yeah, I did this production back. In fact, I think I was chairman at the time, but it was 1997. We did Guys and Dolls, and we rehearsed it. It was a summer show, which we used to do, a summer show, and we rehearsed it in 3 months.
That's pretty good going.
Yeah.
Well, look, enjoy yourselves, and I hope to see you again on this show. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right, now, with the time at 1:25, it's time to give you the clue, or the question as it were, for this week's edition of Beat Detective. So Beat Detective, we play a song at the end of the show. The song's already picked, it's already there in the system. And what we do is, we're going to tell you what the song is. However, it's not as simple as that, of course. We've given you some cryptic clues to lead you towards the song at the end of the show. So you can check out, if you'll hear me talking about it just now, and if you missed that, check us out on social media, on Facebook and on Instagram. No Blue Sky this week, because Shannon still hasn't given me the password for that one, so I can't get into that. So I've got a cryptic clue here, Helen, and I'm going to read it out, and this will tell people a song that is coming up at the end of the show today. It's artist and song. So the artist, it's 2 words, and your clue is, the McDonald's wouldn't be very welcome in this Scottish valley. So that's, the McDonald's wouldn't be very welcome in this Scottish valley. That's your clue for the artist. And your song, it is a 2-word song. And your clue is, this Consumer Choice magazine will recommend the old name for football's assistant referee. That is a cryptic, roundabout way of describing the song and the artist which is playing out the show today. This Consumer Choice magazine will recommend the old name for football's assistant referee. If you know the answer and want to show off, drop us an email, studio@hhr.scot. And you can also check out social media, Facebook and Instagram, where you can drop in your answer there and boast about getting it before everybody else does. I'll give people an extra clue.
Maybe it's a bit hard for me, but
since Helen's here, it is a country classic. It is definitely.
I think I know, actually. Yeah,
big country song.
Yeah.
And it's also one of my favourite songs ever as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we can talk about it later. Now, still to come, lots of great music. We're going to have we need to have a few country songs lined up, I feel, Helen. So,
well, if you feel that way, that's
I think
exciting.
we should, because I've got a few questions that I want to ask you, and that'll lead us into some nice country tracks. But first of all, we'll go for something from, I want to say this is about 2006. He clicked something. Oh, it was 1 year out. 2007 for this one. Here are the Ting Tings. Welcome back. It's the Saturday drop-in here on Highland Hospital Radio. My name's Tom Nelson, and I'm here every Saturday. Usually sitting opposite me, I've got Shannon Marvel, but she's enjoying some time off because it's her anniversary with her partner Ben, and in the following week she's not here then either because it's Ben's birthday. So a couple of weeks off for Shannon, which means we get to have guest hosts coming in to join me in the studio, and it's someone that I've never done a show in the studio with before. We've done work out and about. We've done the outside broadcasts and stuff.
Outside broadcasts, yeah, they're good.
And we know each other from doing other bits bits and bobs with the hospital radio. But Helen, it's really nice to have a chance to sit down and say hello and chat to you.
Yeah, it's good. I've thoroughly enjoyed it today. It's been good.
It has been good. Yeah, the musical theatre group who we had in earlier, if you've missed that, don't worry, we're going to put that out as our podcast for today's show, so you'll be able to listen to it, where we just play all the bits that we've spoken and no music. Whether that's your thing or not, but that's what you can enjoy on the podcast.
But it's interesting. It's so interesting and it's so local. It's lovely.
That's what's really good.
Yeah.
I enjoy that, and it's hopefully people who are listening who might be interested in, maybe they've got an interest in musical theatre and think, how could I reach out and get involved in something?
Right. Yeah.
They're always looking for some helpers, not just to be on stage, but to do all the jobs that are needed. Like here at Hospital Radio, there's so many jobs that need done.
Like the cleaning of the studios and
that comes up quite a lot in here, the cleaning of the studio. But Helen, obviously you've been in Hospital Radio now for a good number of years, but you had such an amazing career in commercial radio with MFR. In fact, you received a Lifetime Achievement Award for MFR. You did. That was when you had 25 years. You still did a few more years after that.
Oh yeah.
But you got your 25 years, and it was sneakily presented to you by a certain Mr. O'Donnell.
And I didn't know about it.
And you didn't know
I
a thing
didn't
about
know
it.
about it. I can't believe that the boss at the time, Danny.
It was Danny Gallagher, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Who
Yeah.
managed to sneak.
I know.
Global superstar.
And the thing was, I was on reception from 9 till 2 as well, so I would take all the telephone calls.
Mm-hmm.
So, when I would get a telephone call, Daniel O'Donnell wanting to speak to Danny, it was quite funny, But anyway, I hadn't a clue.
It's so good, and I've seen the pictures of it from the event. You did look completely starstruck from it.
I just was shocked. And the thing was, Danny had come in. I had an old programme on the Wednesday night or the Thursday night, and I'd played a Jean Shepherd song, and Danny came in the morning, and I had said on air that probably, and the boss won't like this, because it was a really old, great song, but really old. And Danny came in the morning, and he said, "You played Jean Shepherd last night," and I said, "Yeah, I did." And I said, "Oh, I knew you wouldn't like it. Don't worry, I knew you wouldn't like it." And then he had all the voices from all the artists that I'd interviewed, not all of them, but a lot of them. And he had Jean Shepherd, because Jean Shepherd had asked me to come and stay at her farm when I was over in Nashville and everything. It was just such an amazing time in radio. It was brilliant.
Especially for you having such a passion for country music as well, having your own show and having a massive audience as well.
It was
obviously starting
good,
off with just MFR, but as time went on, as we know, it became wider across Scotland. As well as your MFR award, you got the International Broadcaster Award from the Country Music Association.
Wasn't that amazing?
That is incredible.
I mean, I couldn't even just relate to that. That was just something. And even I got 3 Scottish awards, and there was all the Glasgow, Edinburgh, Dundee. Everyone had radio shows, country radio shows.
Yep, that's right, yeah.
And when I got that, but I used to just think, isn't it amazing that it's not only the Inverness people listening, it's actually folk out there that have liked my show, have enjoyed it. So that just made it feel so much better, It was, I just loved it. I did do.
And we may as well mention you got a Sony nomination as well.
Nomination in the Sony.
I mean, the Sonys. That I don't think it's called the Sonys anymore. I think it's got a different name. But that's the UK Radio Awards.
That's right.
The Hospital Broadcasting Association Awards are lovely.
Yeah, I think it's great to get recognised by anyone.
Absolutely, and it's great, that recognition, and deserved as well. Now, you mentioned all these people that you've interviewed, so I was going to put you under a bit of pressure here to pick a first, my last, my everything. So tell us, when you got handed the tape recorder up at MFR to go out and interview people, who was the first person, can you remember, that you interviewed?
Well, the thing was, it was George Hamilton IV down at the Wembley Festival. But George Hamilton IV, I booked him for the club. I had given him bookings at the club, and I had theatre shows as well where artists would come up. So George Hamilton IV was just such a lovely gentleman, and I used to have them for tea. And he would say to me, I love boiled potatoes. Because he used to get chips all the time when they were out on touring on the road. And he would get boiled potatoes, and he used to always go on about that, boiled potatoes. And he was very special. I got loads of nice letters from him, and saying he was so proud of me to get on the radio and that. And it wasn't easy to get on the radio. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't, because I knew nothing apart from knowing. All I wanted to do was teach them what records to play, tell them what records to play, and that sort of thing. So it was great. So George Hamilton IV would be a great old friend. I've lots and lots of memories of George Hamilton IV.
Plus, as well as that, being a woman on radio as well, that, you know,
Yeah.
it wasn't maybe, I don't know, you tell me, but
No, I was the only woman
yeah.
down at the Wembley Festival when I would go into the press room.
in the country scene, yeah.
I was the only one, and they would all go, well, better let Helen go first. And I would think, well, thank goodness I've got questions ready, you know. And sometimes they would be sitting around, so they would go, oh, never thought of that, Helen, never thought of that, you know. So, yeah, it was definitely a sort of new thing to do, have a woman in the press room, definitely.
Absolutely. Most recent interview, because you might not see as many people as much now, but I know you still keep in touch with a lot of bands, a lot, maybe like local ones as well.
Yeah, we did I went up to the Hot Country, Irish Hot Country TV up at Card Bridge, had a festival over the weekend, so I was interviewing Paddy O'Brien and all that. I put it all out on Hospital Radio, it went out. And you listened to it, didn't you, Tom?
Yeah, always. But listen, if I had to listen to every single minute of Hospital Radio,
well, I tell people to listen to my show, and then I forget to listen to it myself to see if I'm looking for mistakes.
I know. You know when your show's on, because I remember when we were having some problems this past few weeks. You messaged me, my show's not on. I was like, yeah, I know. We've got
somebody
problems.
had messaged me, Tom, and said your show's not on today, and I thought it is. I went and put it on.
It was, we have problems.
So anyway, there were problems.
So
but anyway,
we've had your first, we've had your last. What is your everything? Who was your best interview?
I interviewed a guy, Tommy Collins, he liked a wee drink and that. He was an American singer-songwriter, huge. He wrote loads of songs for Merle Haggard and people like that. And just by chance, I got him at the Peterborough or Wembley, one of the festivals. And to speak to him, it was unreal. And I didn't know really much about songwriters. So to hear the stories he had to tell, I really got into songwriters then, and that was very early on in my career. And so that, I always say, was probably my favourite interview that I did as such, to learn so much about country music from him, Tommy Collins. He was funny, and he was just a really nice guy, you know.
And what about in terms of maybe an artist who would be your favourite as well?
Well, Billy Ray Cyrus, it was the funniest interview I did for the listeners anyway, because it was live on air, and the PA assistant had phoned me the day before and said, would you do it? I said, I'd love to do it, but the time differences. So then I said, look, I can do it live tonight. I'm on air tonight. I'll do it live. And phoned up the PA and got Billy Ray, and I said, hi Billy, how are you doing? Hey Helen, where are you? Are you in Ireland? I said, no, I'm in Scotland. Scotland, gee whiz. And then I said, yeah, right by the Loch Ness Monsters place, we stay there. Oh, he says, we'll hire a boat. I'm coming over and we'll hire a boat and we'll go out looking for the Loch Ness Monster. And he was going on like that. And then I started to think, he doesn't realise that we're live. He's just thought it was an interview, just a phone interview. And then he went on, and it was so funny. It was so funny, really. And then at the end, I said, well, thanks very much, Billy. You're a great guy, and nice having the time with you and that. And he said, hey, Helen, I'd love to do this live sometime with you. I just hadn't the heart to say to him, listen, you've been live for about the last hour. So it was so good. So, yeah, it's such a funny interview to listen to. He's so... I can't describe him. He was right with it.
A character,
definitely, yeah.
Well, I tell you, we'll play some Billy Ray Cyrus for you and the listeners now. We've got Storm in the Heartland lined up. Is that okay for you?
He couldn't believe that I even knew this song. I said, oh, I love that song. You love that song? He was shouting, and I thought, yeah, I love that song. So I love it now, Tom, so brilliant.
Excellent. Billy Ray Cyrus, Storm in the Heartland. I think he gets a raw deal. I kind of compare him to Slade in the sense, when you say Slade, people only think of the Christmas songs.
Yes.
And when you say Billy Ray Cyrus, people only think of Achy Breaky Heart. But you were saying off air that could be any genre. It's not country as such,
you can't really say that they're there with cowboy hats on and boots and things like that, line dancing while they're singing that song.
No, absolutely not.
No,
it's
definitely
just a nice ballad.
not. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, we can't have a chat like this without talking about a certain Mr. O'Donnell, who does the forwardry, but he's been a friend for so many years, and I was quite smitten when I met him as well, I'll be honest, but we'll come to that later.
Oh, that's nice.
So tell us about Daniel. How did you start? How did that come about that you were?
Well, I was getting
O'Donnell?
interviewed in a radio station in Ireland, and he said, I'm going to play this new single from an Irish artist, Daniel O'Donnell. So that was fine, and then I got a copy of it. So I came home and I played it. And then he was due to appear in... no, he wasn't due to appear. It was Brendan Shine that was due to appear in Eden Court, and he called off. So then they put Daniel O'Donnell in his place. So I said to the listeners the week before, I said, I'm going to play this new guy to you. I said, and I'm sure you'll like him. I said, and if you don't, then you can come up to me at the end and tell me off. I said, but I'm pretty sure you're going to like him. It's Daniel O'Donnell. And I played the song. And the people had taken all their tickets back when they heard that Brendan Shine wasn't coming.
Right.
So then I got a call on the Sunday I played it. Wednesday I got a call saying it was sold out again. The concert, they'd all gone back and got their tickets because I had played his song on the Sunday. So then he came into Firth. He did an interview with the radio station, then did an interview with me, and then he said, could you come down to my hotel? His mum was with him as well, and he said, could you pick the suit that I'm going to wear tonight? He had 3 different suits with him, and I said, oh, well, I would go for that. Right, that's the one I'll go with. So he did that. So that was the first opportunities, and then it was he came to the house after every show, and I would have a whole lot of folk waiting in the house that hadn't got tickets till we came back, and he would stay and sign every autograph at the theatre afterwards. And then they would be waiting in the house, eating and drinking, and we would come in then about 1 o'clock in the morning or something and have a party then with him, you know. And he'd sing and he'd just do whatever, you know. He'd go into the house, go into the kitchen, make his own toast, do whatever. He's just such a lovely guy and so down to earth, you know what I mean? And he's so good to his fans. He would just do anything for them. And for an artist that stands all night signing autographs at the end and that, and during COVID, that just broke his heart. He couldn't do it.
I can imagine.
He just didn't do it.
Because I remember you told me all these stories before, and when you organised the concert, which was the fundraiser for MFR Cash for Kids and the Hospital Radios as a joint venture a few years ago now.
Yeah,
and Daniel came along and did the concert for us. And you said, oh, you'll need to come and meet him. And I thought, I can't. I would feel a bit out of place. Yeah. But you said, no, come along and meet him. And I suppose you'd said all these nice things about him. I didn't doubt you at all.
No.
But there's a bit of me that thinking,
Daniel O'Donnell. I know,
exactly.
And it so annoys me at times. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yes,
he's got that image that people have. But also I thought, is it all true? Is he really that? Can he really be that nice? And so I came into, it was the bar on Kelt Street. There was the function room at the back, which we'd borrowed to let him have a rehearsal.
Kelt Street, it was the Mayfair Lounge.
That's it.
Yeah, Richie used to be with Mary Firth, so he did it.
So we went in there, and he was in the middle of a song when I came in. You said hello, come and grab a seat. And he finished that song, and before he moved on to the next one, he came over to say hello. He said, oh, you've just come in, who are you? And you introduced me, he's Tom, he's the chair. And he shook my hand, he said, thank you. He said, thank you so much for everything you do. And I went, I'm just on a hospital radio, mate. you're giving up a concert for free here.
Yeah.
And it was so nice then. He went and done the next song. I think some other people arrived after that. It might have been Len or somebody, but and after that song, the new people that he came over and said hello to them.
Oh yeah.
And he was genuinely so nice.
He's just on the ball all the time, you know. He can look. And he was on the phone to me, and I said, listen, it's time you were back in Inverness. And he said, oh, I know. He said, just you, here's me trying to put on his accent. He said, you just organise the concert, Helen, and I'll come. All you'll have to pay is my fare from Tenerife.
Tenerife, that's what
Tenerife, and he says, I'll get the band together and that, and we'll come over. Right. And I mean, from then on, I thought, I'll do it. And I thought to do it just for Hospital Radio or just for Cash for Kids. And then I thought, well, why not share it?
Yeah.
And it was amazing that night. You know,
sold out. It was
just brilliant. And everybody, and he thoroughly enjoyed his hotel that we put him up in. And he said that it was the best that the boys had been in and everything. They thoroughly enjoyed the whole time. So then you feel really good that all worked, you know. And we had some money in our pocket. Cash for Kids benefited.
Absolutely.
You know, it was just excellent.
It was a great event all round.
Yeah.
Everybody won out of that one.
Yeah, definitely.
But he's just this genuinely very, very nice person.
Yeah.
And I was quite smitten. So I've got my pride of place is my photograph that I've got
Yeah,
with
took
Daniel.
a photo of you with him,
yeah. So
It's
here's,
nice.
I hope I see him again. Hope he comes back soon. 'cause
Well,
I know
I'll
he'll be well
say to him,
welcomed.
yeah, definitely. But he, this is quite a funny story. We were in my friend Margaret's house in Florida, and he was in Florida as well. And he said, "Well, come and see us, or we'll come and see you." So that was it. So he phoned this morning, right? And Jim and I were ready to go down the town, and he phoned and he said, "Helen, I'm having a barbecue tonight. Can you come? Yourself and Jim come to it." And it was like about 100 miles away, but we thought, yeah, we'll come. Right? And I didn't actually think, yeah, we'll come. What I said was, no, I'm going down the town at the moment. I said, so we won't come, we won't come. All right, okay, but if you do decide to come, just come. Don't bother phoning and that. So I come off the phone and my husband says to me, I can't believe that you said you're not going. He said, anybody would give their right arm to go for a barbecue in Daniel O'Donnell's. And I said, no, we're going down the town to look round. So he said, no, we're downtown, got a guilty conscience. So then I thought, right, let's go back home and get dressed and go to the barbecue. And we did that. And it was so funny when we arrived. He was there with taking drinks through to his guests, and he dropped them at the table in the lobby, came running out and said, I can't believe you've come. He was just so chuffed. I think it was just he wanted somebody ordinary there that he could relate to. And, and there was a solicitor there that said, to me, how did you get to meet Garth Brooks? Because Daniel had introduced me and said she's met Garth Brooks. How did you get to meet Garth Brooks? Daniel spoke for me. He said, Helen's like a draft. She gets in anywhere.
Well,
so, yeah, come and play his music. Is that
yeah, we'll play a track from Daniel. What we got lined up is Take Good Care of Her. Go on, we'll play that for
Yeah, play it.
But it's coming up to the end of the show. That was Daniel O'Donnell and Take Good Care of It. The time flies by on a Saturday.
It does.
A 2-hour show's
when
gone.
you come into the studio, you're enjoying it. It just flies past.
It does. Now, a little bit of housekeeping. We just need to finish off with our answer to Beat Detective. The clue to our final song was the McDonald's wouldn't be very welcome in this Scottish valley. Making a reference to that, but yeah, I'm sure we're okay. I'm sure enough time's passed. And your song was this Consumer Choice magazine will recommend the old name for football's assistant referee. We did get a couple of messages in with some correct answers. Well done to you if you'd got this. So the McDonald's would be very welcome in this Scottish valley. A Scottish valley would be a glen, and the McDonald's are up against...
I've just got it now.
There
I've
you
just
go.
actually clicked into it.
So the artist was Glenn Campbell. And the Consumer Choice magazine, which will recommend the old name for football's assistant the referee, we've got the Consumer Choice magazine is Which. There's a bit of a stretch, this one. And the old name for an assistant referee was a lineman. So make that sound like Wichita Lineman. It's one of my favourite songs ever. Well, Helen, that's us. We're done. We need to go. So we'll say cheerio. And Helen...
Thanks for having me today. Yeah,
aye.
Thanks.
And we'll catch you all later on. Take care of yourself. Check out Helen's show, because Helen will be on tomorrow, on Sunday, with a St Patrick's Day special.
My husband Jim, the Irish Jim, he's going to join me and tell stories, play Irish music. So it's a wee bit different to the normal country.
Well, we'll certainly enjoy it, and we'll even try and get that on the Listen Again service. We might see. But in the meantime, take care of yourself. If you listen in hospital, I hope you get well soon, get home, and still keep listening to us here on Highland Hospital Radio. Goodbye for now. So that was this week's edition of the Saturday Drop-In. Thank you very much for downloading. Helen, how was it? Did you enjoy yourself?
I thoroughly enjoyed it, yes, and it was lovely having the theatre people in and to hear what they were doing, and that they have volunteers coming in as well, and the work they've to put into it as well. It was really very, very interesting, I would say.
I really enjoyed it. They're so passionate about it.
Yep.
And it's nice when people have got a passion for something and they can find a volunteering thing, and they can, either sing on stage or dance on stage, or you can help out behind the scenes on the stage. Lots to do with it.
And local. The nice thing about it was fairly local as well,
Absolutely.
and that was good, yeah.
And how good is it that, they're all volunteers, they've all got, other jobs or careers, but they get to perform on the Eden Court stage.
Yeah.
That must be brilliant. I don't know how I'd feel about that. I don't know if I could perform on the Eden Court stage.
Well, I've walked onto it a few times introducing bands and things like that, and it's nerve-wracking, I have to say, yeah.
Yeah. We also had some chat because Helen. Now I can talk about your book now.
Oh, you
right?
can?
I'm
Yeah,
going
you
to
can.
tell. Yep. So, what's your website, Helen?
It's helenmacpherson.com.
Now, if you go there, Helen, I'm sure if you're from the Inverness and the Highland area, you'll know who Helen MacPherson is. But maybe you've not heard of her before, but you do like your country music. Maybe you like the history of country. Maybe you like to know a bit about the history about commercial radio, the local Scottish radio stations that,
Yeah, that was
that
what was
existed.
nice.
That's all contained within the book. I'll be honest, I'm not a big reader. I'm not. But because you were coming on the show today, I made a point of sitting down over the past couple of days and going through it because I looked for a few nice wee nuggets.
Yeah.
Like how the guest of the year this year, that the year was 1978, which was when the Country and Western Club
Yep.
won the award for Best in Britain. Other things to do with when you got your award at MFR and stuff. So I find it very interesting, particularly the radio stuff. That's my bit.
Yes,
the country
indeed.
music stuff, like the stars who you interview, it's amazing how many people you've interviewed. But it
Yep.
maybe doesn't do it for me. But the radio stuff does. So there's so much in your book. It's a life story. It's about your own personal life.
Yeah, and
what
some
happened.
funny things as well,
Oh,
Tom,
yeah.
that if you're not that interested in the artist, but then when you read it, when you're desperate to read something and you read it, you think, oh, that was funny, or that was good, so I've tried to make it just as it happened.
Yes.
So that was the main thing.
And I think what the most incredible part is, and I know you've done talks about your book, I know you've been out seeing people, is that you have had such a wonderful career. You've met so many people, so many names that are household names in country, but also just in music in general, and
Yeah.
you've met them, chatted to them, and I don't know, you seem to have had some sort of skill with them where you could have a really much more fun and friendly chat than maybe what some of the
Yes, and I
the
don't
bigger names would
understand
have.
that, but that is how it happened. And a lot of times you would be standing waiting in a queue when the artists were waiting, and then if you just said, well, I'm from Scotland, oh, you're from Scotland, gee,
Yeah.
come on in, and that was so good, and then they would tell you about their family, and oh yeah, it was definitely, the Scottish side was definitely in
Definitely was an
America
in.
was definitely the thing to do, was.
Because in that area where country music's sort of more popular, that sort of, the south side of
Yes,
there
yeah.
must be hundreds of different radio stations. So these stars have met hundreds of different people who are all very similar to them. But to
Yeah.
have somebody think, well, you've come all the way to Nashville, for example, from
That's it.
Scotland.
Yeah.
That may be, I'm going to spend more time with you. It must have been nice.
And they would just sit for ages. I would definitely overgo my time, always, every time. But then it wasn't me that was keeping them. They were quite happy to be sitting there, and answering all my questions. And I always thought to have good questions for them. I would think
Yes.
that out, but it would be a personal feeling for myself, especially if they were songwriters. I just loved to get to them and ask them why they wrote songs and that sort of thing. Oh, it was great. I enjoyed every minute of it. The radio, writing the book, and that was encouraged by young girls at the Cash for Kids. They kept, if I'd tell them stories, they would say, you should write a book, you should write a book. So it's thanks to them that I decided during COVID to put pen to paper.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
And you still help out with the Cash for Kids.
Yes, I do at Christmas
At
time.
the Christmas time
Yeah.
for the stuff there. But also at MFR, you worked on reception at MFR, so you must have seen everybody
Yeah.
coming and going. You
Yeah.
had your show at MFR. I would have loved to have been involved in commercial radio when you were.
It was
It
amazing.
must have been an absolute sort of boom time from the start of MFR. Obviously, we don't want to go all doom and gloom, but we know
No.
that it's not the same as what it was. Absolutely not.
No.
But it must have been a magical time when those, like the studios up there, would have been bustling with people in the offices. You had the 2 studios there. The third one was like the production and adverts and stuff. It must
Yes,
have been amazing.
it
that
was.
place.
It absolutely was. And then in the main office, it was all the news people would be sitting there, and then the information desk at the back, sales and the Cash for Kids, the charity and everything through the house, as we would say. But it was a busy place always. And locals coming in, and folk
Yeah.
would phone up and say, I'm down the town and I live along from the radio station. Could you go along and let my dog in? Because I've let it out and I can't remember if I've shut the gate. So it was quite funny.
Because it's I've only visited the studios up at Skuguri the once, and that was only a couple of years ago. I think was it just just after COVID. And yeah, when you walk into the main office,
sad
and it was just
now.
empty. It was an empty shell. All these desks where you think how much would have been going on
busy.
those years. And the studios, it was when they just switched to only having one breakfast presenter. And yeah, so the breakfast show had finished. The place was empty. It was the guy who looks after the place up there. I'll say Malcolm. He's the guy who's the
Yes.
sort of tech person up there.
Oh, it's great, Malcolm.
And yeah, it was lovely to see it, but also felt really, really sad, to be
Well,
honest.
really sad. Every time I go up now, it's really sad, you know.
Every time I drive
It's-
past it and there's no lights on or anything,
I
it's
know.
it's a shame.
And our head of programmes was Brian Anderson, and he was amazing. He was English, and he came up here, and he absolutely loved the people up here and the things. And he would have us out if anything happened in the area that he heard about. He'd have us all out in the
Yeah.
radio car or
Yeah.
whatever to report back on it for the news and that sort of thing. I mean, the whole community was involved, from Wick to Fraserburgh. That's what we used to say.
Yeah.
Wick to Fraserburgh, and then they had the organisation which I was made in charge of, that went round encouraging the volunteers to get involved and do news stories, and then I would edit their interviews and that sort of thing. It was absolutely amazing, you know. And then I had to run all their parties and things like that. I don't know why, I just got involved in doing everything. It was brilliant, you know. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Ah, well, it's great that it happened.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
Can't be too sad about it. It must have been a
No.
great time. I wish I'd been there at the time.
Yeah,
but
you would have
we
enjoyed
can
it.
still try and have some fun here at Hospital Radio.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll leave it at that, folks. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you ever want to get in touch with us just on the podcast, you can email us socials@hhr.scot. Check us out online. We are on your Facebook, your Instagram, your Blue Sky. Shannon has got us a TikTok channel and she's posting videos there. I don't always come out too well in these videos, but
I'll need to talk to her then to get my book done.
yeah, book 2 is in the offing. So
No, definitely not.
So don't forget, go along HelenMacPherson.com and go and check out our book. It's well worth having a
You can
read
buy it
over.
online,
Yeah.
or
See, I knew she'd jump in.
No, I can buy it. You can buy it online, and I can get out there.
Yeah,
as
you do get
often
out
as
about and
not.
meet people,
Yeah,
which
I
is
like
lovely.
that. Yes.
And as well as that, Helen's show is here on a Sunday at 3 and
a Friday
Tuesday,
at 11.
Friday at 11.
Wednesday
Is it
at
Wednesday?
12.
But either way, check out the website hhr.scot for full information. And me and Helen are going to sit and I'm going to remind her how to put the show on the listen again service so you can catch up on it. Right, we'll leave it at that. Bye, folks.
Thanks a lot.